Eric Doherty, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well. How are you this morning?
Oh man, great, man. If I was any better, I'd be twins. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Burn the Ship podcast. This podcast is all about inspiring entrepreneurs to go all in and then connect them with people that'll help them along the way. So we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
And your company is called Blink Science.
Blink Science Incorporated, correct.
What is Blink Science?
Great question. Actually, it's a company that was formed last year out of COVID, basically out of the University of Florida. We had licensed both IP and patent rights out of University of Florida. I came on board to commercialize out the company at that time in October. And about 3 months in, we found out that we couldn't commercialize or enable those patents. So we ended up having to push those back. So we ended up bringing in patents into the company. I now have two verticals within the business. I've got an IT vertical. So I've got a system that basically is on a platform called Blink Health Pass.
Cool.
Then I also have a medical device vertical. And so what we're doing is we're working on a system that's very unique and new to the marketplace with diagnostic testing. It's actually on a platform that's electrochemical biosensor testing, where not only does it have very high specificity and sensitivity when it comes to testing, but it provides results in seconds.
Cool.
And so right now there's nothing else in the marketplace. So our technology is something that is a game changer in the diagnostic space and the point of care space. And it's going to pretty much revolutionize any type of diagnostic testing that's being done currently.
Awesome. So it's basically a LabCorp in your hand.
Honestly, very much so. I mean, literally we're taking a $10,000 piece of equipment and getting it out into anywhere between a $250 to $300 piece of equipment.
Sweet. And at Blink Science, this device is 1.0. What did it test for?
I'm sorry, could you repeat
1.0, like the first version, what did it test for?
Yeah, so we're actually going straight for the COVID marketplace. Obviously this is something that is hitting the U.S. shores, but also the global market as well. And so, our intent is to get this product out into as many people's hands as possible. We'll capture a COVID test patient within 4 seconds. To be able to do that, but also have a high volume testing platform where I can literally take our device and test anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500 patients per day out of one testing device. So it's set up to really be used at a tent setting, at a large gathering setting, and basically be able to test people rapidly and move them through a process.
And what's the battery life on the thing?
Yeah, lithium battery. It's got a USB cord on the top of the device and basically can be charged overnight. But again, roughly 1,000 to 1,500 tests
before the battery dies.
Before the battery dies.
Insane.
It's crazy.
That's great.
Yeah, and that was the driver for it. I mean, it's pretty much built off-the-shelf electronics. It's very similar to construction like a diabetic patient would have for their diabetes blood reads, for the glucose strips. So that technology is pretty simple and can be produced in pretty large volumes very quickly. The strips are also like that. The strips are basically what is called web offset printing. So it's layer upon layer as far as the printing cycle is concerned. So these can actually be printed and manufactured in the millions. So really our intent is to drive the device production anywhere between $250,000 to $500,000 in about 3 to 6 months upon approval. And then the strips themselves, I've got manufacturers that are already doing glucose strips that can literally do 10 to 15 million strips per day.
Nice.
And so the conversations we're having with government entities, both in the U.S. marketplace, but also globally, that's really what is of interest to them, because not only do they get a high volume type of test that is also sensitive and very highly specific, but they also get a very low cost test as well. Again, as we mentioned, this is the device itself is the same type of test, like a $10,000 test would be in a lab. Whereas we're actually giving that same type of testing result on a very low cost platform, and the strips themselves are going to be less than $5 a test.
Interesting.
Are y'all
That's
in
awesome.
stores yet, or just on your website?
Yeah, I was going to say,
nothing.
are you pre-revenue?
We are pre-revenue on the IT side. So Blink Health Pass is now being offered into the corporate setting now. So we're looking at driving that product into corporations, schools, universities. Our device is actually, we're pre-FDA right now. Right now we're getting the research and development done on the testing strips.
But that's not cheap.
No, no. And we're open for investors, so I will put that out there as well. But the strips themselves, we're getting those functionalized, and then once that's done, we'll do our clinical trial work and then submit into an emergency use authorization to the FDA, and then also doing a CE designation into Europe, and then also Health Canada designation as well.
What's the roadmap to that being completed with the FDA?
So a few months.
This year?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This month is our. Yeah, it's definitely going to be this year. That's our intent. But what's really interesting is that.
So can you even sell those before FDA approval, or you can't?
Great question.
Yeah.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So here in the United States, no.
Right.
However, since I mentioned that we're a global operation, so we are literally going to be taking our clinical data into health ministries across the globe. So individual countries, let them make the decision individually within a country. So let's say a country like Sri Lanka, giving them our clinical information, letting them get the tests, the devices themselves, let them do validations on those tests, let that country make the decision. And they can do that. And our intent is to really drive that because the FDA sometimes can be slow. And we want to make sure we have the same data that goes in the FDA provided to those other countries, but we also want to give those other countries the opportunity to get this product into the market to protect their citizens. And that's
in the landscape we're in. I can't fathom how slow they are right now. They got to be slower.
As far as the
COVID, and all that, they've got to be.
Well, now versus pre-COVID.
Yeah. They have so many products in the market that they have to review, and obviously safety is a key concern for the FDA.
Sure.
And so I understand that, but when you have a game-changing type of technology, something that actually can change the testing landscape and get patients, find out who is affected, who's not, and then separate them out and isolate them. To be able to do that rapidly, that's something they do not have right now. And I don't want to be delayed to get this into the hands of countries that need it.
Sure. I mean, look, it just in on campuses alone and schools, and I know it's a weird thing to be testing because it's blood test, right?
No, it's actually even easier. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. So the platform itself can take any type of fluid. So you all asked earlier, what am I looking at as far as additional assays going forward? So the huge benefit this brings is that I can look at oncology assays. I can look at STDs, HIV. We're doing work already on concussion, but even things like troponin, where you can do a saliva test, and we're doing saliva with COVID as well, but you could do an instant saliva test to see if somebody had a heart attack.
So what do you do, lick that strip and put it in?
No, it's actually used with a little dropper.
Oh, is it?
So,
okay.
Yeah. But I will say one of the things, and that's ironic you say that, we are looking at that.
You got to talk to me like I'm 3, Eric.
Yeah,
no.
I wish I could do this on my laptop. I actually have a screenshot that actually shows a child licking it. So that is our intent.
Oh, is it?
To make it so we are looking at making.
Can you send that to Tristan? Let him pull it up on the thing.
I will. Yeah. I'll do that.
Sure.
So definitely, I'll send you guys the presentation. You guys can have that. But yeah, that is an intent for us. Now the FDA may have some questions depending upon how we set it up. But
have some questions.
We do want to look at that to make it very, very easy.
That's pretty cool.
So that is something we're going to look at driving. But the assays themselves. We're looking at blood, we're looking at saliva, and it just really depends on the different type of test, on what fluid you use. But what's really cool is that you can actually move this into other environments as well. So this could be used for, let's say, water testing, so environmental testing. You could use food testing with this type of platform. But even, you mentioned earlier with the vet business, you could actually use it with animals potentially as well.
Oh.
So let's say that that I want this, and I'm like, okay, I want to test for vitamin deficiency or something like that. Would I have to download that in there for it to be able to read, or would it be a totally separate machine for that?
It'd be a totally separate strip for that.
Okay. Oh, the strip would be different.
Correct. The strip would be the actual
for
test.
vitamins or testing
depending
for your
upon
vitamins?
whatever assay we would look at. Yeah, we haven't really looked at the vitamins end of things, more the infectious disease and host response type of elements. Anything really with a S1 spike protein, we can test. And so because of that, it would be the strip. The device itself could read it, and just basically we would just refigure the I guess we call it the firmware within the device to actually read that specific test.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's actually just some background on that. So the gentleman who did most of the work on this device came from Intel. So he worked on the CAD design for Intel, and we've got a very great team on the hardware side to help put that together.
Where's HQ? Is it in Gainesville?
No, actually, we've got two operations. So commercial operations are here in Atlanta, and then our R&D and finance operations are down in Jacksonville, actually.
Cool.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Because the reason I asked Gainesville is because you said it was developed out of the University of Florida, right?
Well, the initial patents were. And
Right.
so again, as mentioned, we weren't able to commercialize or enable those patents. So we've actually given all those back to University of Florida
Why?
because you could not commercialize them. You could not get to a point where I could take this to market and have it in your all's hands.
So what are
to
they
be able to
worth
test.
now? Nothing?
Those patents weren't worth a commercialization dollar, correct?
Oh,
So
man.
we've actually filed our own patents, so we have our own IP, so everything is internal into the corporation itself.
What market is first? Is it doctor's office? Is it the tents? Is it homes? I mean, I could see myself with where we are right now, having that at my house just
Or
to
event
know.
coordinators.
Let me ask you a great question. Name one person on the planet that doesn't need a COVID test.
No, everybody needs one right now. Yeah, for sure.
I don't have a demand issue.
Yeah.
That's just it. I've got basically, I've got a time issue where I need to bring this to market as fast as possible, which we have been working tirelessly to do. And as soon as I get everything squared away with regards to our strip being functionalized and ready to go, we're running. I've got manufacturers already set up. We are a U.S.-based company that is also a U.S.-based manufacturing organization. We're working through contract manufacturers, but they're all U.S.-based. And that's our driver. I'm a big proponent of the MAID Act. Got great connections into the folks at Tim Scott's office up in South Carolina, and then also here in Georgia, Buddy Carter. Congressman Buddy Carter and Tim Scott put forward the MAID Act, which is U.S. manufacturing of healthcare-related product. And so because of that, that we've really driven kind of that U.S. made in the USA type of stance.
Awesome.
And so the device itself will be based out of Dallas as far as the production capacity. And then I've got 3 of the largest glucose strip manufacturers in the country to literally turn these around. And again, I could, within about 3 months of FDA approval and or international acceptance, I can have anywhere between 15 to 50 million produced in the strips every day.
So this is 100% American put together.
Correct.
Everything. And the supplements that go along with it, with the
test
strips
and
and
everything.
all that.
Correct. Yeah. The only thing we've got outside of the country are some of the parts inside the unit. So things like chips are still
Obviously,
made, unfortunately, outside of the U.S. And so we've got to get those, from other providers, not China, but Taiwan and some other countries. But everything else, as far as the plastic, all of the boards itself will be assembled here
The
in
mold,
United
everything
States.
is here.
Are those harder to get right now? The chips and all that?
They are.
I figured, yeah.
You've heard I saw in the Good Morning America this morning where the prices of cars are going to start going up because they're having troubles finding chips.
Well, here's
Yeah,
the thing.
that's what Jay was saying the other day. That's
So
what
here's
made me think about that.
here's the thing though. Okay, so my wife is getting a new car, and she put the down payment on it 2 months ago, and she's getting it in December. So yeah.
Jeez.
So absolutely.
Look how much interest you're losing.
But here's the thing though. You might pay 15 to 20% over on a car, but you're getting 15% more on your used car.
True.
So you're
True.
paying the same thing.
True.
So her car, she's gonna get for her 6-year-old car, she's gonna get $20,000 for it. So does it really matter if you're getting that? It doesn't. It doesn't, especially if
Unless
the
you're
interest
just
rates
buying a car straight out
which
without
is
trading one in.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Which hopefully you're on the other end of that. Like my granddad always said, if you're driving a car that's paid off and you're fixing it, that's okay.
Exactly.
If you're driving a car that you're paying on, that's okay. If you're driving a car that you're paying on, you're fixing it, that's not good.
I totally agree.
So-
especially if you change the tires and all that. Yep.
So yeah. But getting back to it, chips are an issue, and it spans across lots of industries.
Exactly. Yep.
Lots of industries.
Let me talk a little bit about our IT platform
Please.
too. Obviously, you've got a great IT background yourself, and our IT platform is called again Blink Health Pass. And the way it's set up, it's basically like an electronic health record system, an EHR system, where it's based on an AWS system, Amazon Web Services.
Sure.
It's all HL Fire and HL7 and Fire based, where it can be very easily integrated. There you go. Yes, thank you. And basically, the way it's set up is that it'll ingest any type of vaccination information and allows folks to basically, again, if it's based on a corporate setting. So a corporation may require their employees to have vaccinations, and again, they can set those protocols as they choose. Our key component is having the testing element put into it. So basically, with our test or with others, we can actually register not only COVID, but also flu, RSV. If they want to put drug testing into Blink Health Pass, they can do that as well. And then obviously our future tests can also be placed into the system. But the benefit is that it ties into the HR systems within a corporation. So the HCM system is what we call it. It ties into that, but also the safety and security system within a corporate setting.
Sure.
So what happens is that if a person, a corporation sets up protocols and a person doesn't follow or meet those protocols, let's say they need to have or are required to have a vaccination and then also have a certain testing pattern, maybe once or twice a week. If they don't meet that protocol, then the safety and security system kicks in within the system and does not allow their key card or their key pass to enter into a building.
Right.
So then it doesn't obviously get other employees infected with COVID or with RSV or with flu in that standard setting.
Are you wanting this to be a full EHR in the end?
It will be.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's the goal.
Exactly.
Now, is this obviously this device? You want it to talk to this?
Correct. This device is Bluetooth, so every time a test is run on the device, the data is pushed up into the cloud into Blink Health Pass.
That's awesome.
The other cool thing is that, again, from our end of things, every strip will have a 2D barcode. So we actually will be able to control the quality, but also the quantity systems within the IT platform based on the readings that the strip is given. So every individual will basically scan the strip. The strip will go into the device, and then it'll go back to Blink Health Pass and register to that specific person that had that specific test. So
can we test Jordin right now?
I can't do it right now, unfortunately.
What about Tristan? Can we do him? Pull your pants down, Tristan. Cough 3 times.
I won't like what you find.
Oh no. Yeah. The thing's gonna blow up, isn't it? Well, I appreciate you coming on. This has been awesome. This has been interesting. And pick the thing up and show it.
Yeah.
And is this what's going to be sold? That's what's going to be sold right now, and it's what it's going to look like, or is that a prototype? Or
this is a prototype, but very, very similar. We'll change a little bit of the logo
size.
work, but same size. Everything else basically the same. It's got a rubberized backing, so it doesn't slip on a lab bench or a clinic bench.
Yep.
Basically we're going for 2 EUAs. So the first EUA will be for healthcare providers.
Sure.
So physician offices, clinics, hospitals, nurses, that type of thing. And then we will also be going for an at-home use. So literally you could be at home, test yourself daily if you need to with COVID. But as we move into other assays, the intent is to have a full list of different tests you could have at home, a cold, a flu, an RSV test at home where you could actually test before you go to school.
I figure big market because keto diets are huge right now, and to see if you're in the state of ketose, because a lot of people they do on the keto diet, but we call it a dirty keto diet, but it's not you're not in ketose, so you have to have tests to see if you are in that state.
Correct.
And that would be able to do that as well.
Potentially, yes.
Sell those in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something about vets. Is that in the works, using it for animals, or is that just like a future idea?
Future business unit idea.
I mean, it's something really cool.
Yeah, and it could be done very rapidly. I mean, again, depending upon the disease, there are the same type of platform could be testing cats and dogs and, bovine, cows, etc. very, very easily. So
that's awesome.
Depending upon our setup, definitely could be done that way.
Because I always get worried about my pets because they can't talk. They can't tell me what they're feeling.
Your pets can't talk?
Nope.
Man, it sucks for you. I have 2 talking dogs that can talk.
Wow. I need to get my next dog where you got yours from then.
That's it.
Well, again, with the vet space too, they could do without having to send out a lab. They could actually do the testing in their own office.
Yeah.
At the veterinarian clinic as well. So huge benefit there. So definitely a market that we are looking at, down the road.
Absolutely. What has been your biggest struggle over the last year?
Wow. Just putting everything together.
Yeah.
It's been a whirlwind. We run on hyperdrive. We're
sure.
moving. And, I thankfully do not have an access issue. We literally are talking to some of the largest groups and largest companies in the world. Companies like Amazon, companies like Microsoft, We're partnered already with SAS, which is a company based out of North Carolina. We're partnered already with Becton Dickinson, where we're using their tests now with that IT platform I mentioned earlier. And we actually have a global representation with them to actually provide their tests to tie into our IT system now.
So that's pulling revenue right now.
That's pulling revenue in right
okay.
now. So we're able to do that between now and the time we get our test. And so, getting all that put together with all of that, and then some additional partnerships we're going to be announcing pretty soon. We've got some great things in the works that has just really been moving the company forward.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What have you become an expert in?
Multitasking.
There you go.
I was pretty good at it, but now really to be able to do that now and to be able to delegate as needed and lead. I think that's the other thing. We've grown our business. Our company now is about 65 employees.
Nice.
And I've done that in about 8 months. And I think that has really. I've been able to really get a good, solid team together to really drive this through and drive this initiative to market.
In those 65, they're in Atlanta or Jacksonville or split?
Across the United States.
Oh, they are? Okay.
That's the great thing about COVID. I mean, you really don't need a quote-unquote office space. Everybody can kind of work remotely outside of the R&D and that type of thing. But
First person to say that's the great thing about COVID. you heard it here, coined.
Zoom meetings.
Eric.
Zoom meetings are wonderful. If
Yeah.
you want to get a quick meeting, with
I'm not even
anybody,
wearing pants right now.
Don't stand up.
Well, look, how can we get a hold of you? Email, websites. I know we pulled up one website, but I think these companies are running at two different companies, right? They're running in parallel, but they're two different companies.
No, same company.
Okay.
Blink Health Pass is just part of Blink Science.
Okay.
And so they can go to www.blinkscience.com. My email address, it's ERIC, and then it's DOHERTY @blinkscience.com.
800 number, phone number, anything like that?
No, we just do the email. That just makes it easier for us. Again, because we're all spread out. Makes it simple.
I appreciate you. Is there anything we can do to help you out? Who are you looking for to talk to?
Yeah, I think for me, it's anybody who has a business with multiple sites and a large number of employees. I think our tie-in there is that with Blink Health Pass, we can set that company up from a safety and security system to make sure their employees don't get infected with COVID or other flu or RSV issues. And then as well as we're moving forward, from a testing standpoint, there's some great applications, even down to potentially drug testing, where I could literally have a drug test set up on a strip where those employers could actually test their employees on site if they need to.
And
Nice.
sports teams too, right?
Yeah, that's huge. I mentioned the concussion test. So one of the things that we've had some discussion with already with the DoD and Pentagon, but also even with the NFL, is getting some help with regards to a concussion test where you can literally, again, saliva-based, have an instant concussion test right there on the field. If a high school
There wouldn't be anybody playing football then. They'd have to suspend the game. Talking about COVID, concussions are like, it's like the game's not going on. This guy's had a
or
concussion for
rugby.
5 years.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, they could test right there. So that is one thing that we're already working on currently.
That's awesome. I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
thank
much.
you.
Appreciate
I
it.
wish you luck. If you need anything,
Thanks.
please reach out.
I will do that. Thank
Everybody
you.
be good to each other out there.
Be safe. Wear your mask.